That jolt in the dead of night, the cold sweat, the lingering terror of a dream so vivid, so disturbing, it seizes your waking hours with an icy grip. These aren't random synaptic misfires, meaningless static from a sleeping brain. Your nightmares are speaking to you. They are urgent, coded messages from the deepest, wisest part of your psyche, and for too long you've been either terrified by them or quick to dismiss them. But the truth, the brutal and liberating truth, is that these nocturnal horrors hold the keys to profound self-understanding and radical transformation. This is Decoding Your Nightmares, a Jungian guide to hidden meanings. And by the time we're through, you won't just understand the terrifying landscapes of your inner world. You'll begin to harness their immense power, turning fear into fuel and confusion into clarity. Prepare to confront the darkness, because within it lies the blueprint for your most authentic and unstoppable self. For too long, we've been conditioned to view nightmares as mere aberrations, glitches in the system, or the unfortunate byproduct of a late-night meal or a stressful day. We wake up, shake them off, and try to forget. But what if that very act of forgetting is a profound disservice to ourselves? What if, in our haste to escape the discomfort, we are ignoring a desperate summons from the core of our being? Carl Jung, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist, proposed a revolutionary way of understanding the human psyche. He saw it not as a fragmented collection of impulses, but as a dynamic, self-regulating system constantly striving for balance, for wholeness. And dreams, especially the disturbing ones, play a critical role in this quest for equilibrium. They are the psyche's way of flagging imbalances, of bringing to our attention the parts of ourselves we've ignored, suppressed, or denied. Your nightmares, in their often grotesque and terrifying symbolism, are not trying to torment you. They are trying to save you from a one-sided, incomplete existence. They are the psyche's emergency flares, signaling that something vital needs your conscious attention. This journey we're embarking on isn't about finding simple one-to-one translations for dream symbols. This is about learning the very language of your unconscious, a language rich with metaphor, archetype, and profound personal significance. It's about developing the courage to sit with the discomfort, to look your inner monsters in the eye, and to ask them what they've come to teach you. The path Jung offers is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. It leads to a life lived with greater awareness, authenticity, and an unshakable inner strength built not on avoiding your fears, but on understanding and integrating their source. So let's descend into the realm where these messages originate, the unconscious mind. To understand the language of nightmares, we must first appreciate the landscape from which they emerge. Jung distinguished between the conscious mind, the small island of awareness where our ego resides, where we make our daily decisions and perceive the world through our senses, and the vast, largely uncharted ocean of the unconscious. This isn't just a dusty attic of forgotten memories. The unconscious is a dynamic, living part of you, teeming with energy, wisdom, and unexpressed potential. Jung further divided the unconscious into two layers, the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. The personal unconscious is yours alone. It contains all your forgotten experiences, your repressed desires, your unacknowledged emotions and complexes, those emotionally charged clusters of ideas and memories that can significantly influence your behavior without your full awareness. When you dream of a specific person from your past who wronged you, or a situation that caused you shame, it's often the personal unconscious bringing these unresolved issues to the surface for processing. But beneath this personal layer lies something far deeper and more mysterious, the collective unconscious. This is Jung's most radical and perhaps most profound contribution. He proposed that the collective unconscious is a reservoir of experiences and knowledge common to all humankind, inherited from our ancestors and shared across cultures and epochs. It's the bedrock of the human psyche, containing the archetypes, universal patterns, and primordial images that shape our understanding of the world and ourselves. Think of it as the psychic DNA of humanity. When your nightmares feature monstrous figures, mythical beasts, or scenarios of epic struggle, pursuit, or initiation, you are likely tapping into these ancient, collective energies. The language of the unconscious, particularly in dreams and nightmares, is not the logical, linear language of your conscious waking mind. It speaks in symbols, in images, in metaphors, in feelings. Why? Because symbols are multivalent. They can hold a vast amount of information and emotional charge in a single, condensed form. A symbol in a dream is rarely just one thing. It's a nexus of meanings, personal and collective. Your unconscious isn't trying to be deliberately obscure. It's communicating in its native tongue, a language older and richer than words. Nightmares, then, are the unconscious speaking loudly, sometimes screaming because its more subtle whispers have gone unheard. They often signify a critical imbalance between your conscious attitude and the totality of your psyche. Perhaps your conscious life is too rigid, too materialistic, too focused on outward appearances, while your inner life, your soul's needs, are being starved. The nightmare erupts as a compensatory mechanism, a dramatic, often terrifying, attempt to force you to look at what you're missing, what you're denying. The brutal truth here is that your conscious ego, for all its pretensions of control, is often blind to what truly ails you or what you most deeply need for growth. It builds defenses, rationalizations, and convenient narratives that keep uncomfortable truths at bay. Nightmares are the battering ram of the unconscious, smashing through these defenses to deliver a message so urgent it cannot be ignored. They are not a sign of pathology, but a sign of life, a sign that your psyche is fighting for its wholeness, for your wholeness. Ignoring them is like ignoring a persistent, agonizing pain in your body. You might silence the symptom for a while, but the underlying disease will only worsen. Engaging with them, however fearfully at first, is the first step towards healing and integration. Now let's populate this nightmare landscape. Who are these terrifying figures that chase us, confront us, and fill us with dread? In Jungian terms, many of these are manifestations of archetypes, those universal, primordial images and energy patterns residing in the collective unconscious. They are the inherited psychological structures that form the template for human experience. Recognizing these archetypal figures in your nightmares is like finding a Rosetta Stone for their hidden meanings. Undoubtedly, the most frequent and formidable visitor in our nightmares is the shadow. The shadow is everything you are but choose not to be. It's the repository of all the aspects of yourself that your conscious ego has rejected, repressed, or simply failed to acknowledge. These can be negative traits, your anger, your envy, your greed, your cruelty, but also paradoxically positive qualities that you, for whatever reason, found unacceptable or too dangerous to express. Your assertiveness, your creativity, your power, your vulnerability. In nightmares, the shadow often appears as a dark, menacing figure, a pursuer, a monster, a terrifying assailant, or sometimes even a disreputable version of yourself. Its fearsomeness is directly proportional to the degree of its repression. The more you deny these parts of yourself, the more monstrous and threatening they will appear in your dreams. The brutal truth the shadow brings is that the monster chasing you is, in a profound sense, you, or at least, a vital and neglected part of you. Confronting it is not about destroying it, but about understanding what it represents and integrating its energy back into your conscious personality. Then there are the archetypes of the anima and animus. The anima is the unconscious feminine aspect in men, and the animus is the unconscious masculine aspect in women. These represent not just gender qualities but also specific psychological functions, the anima related to emotion, connection, intuition, and creativity, the animus to reason, assertiveness, structure, and discernment. In nightmares, A hostile or distorted anima might appear as a seductive but dangerous femme fatale, a weeping victim or a cold, rejecting woman, reflecting a man's troubled relationship with his own emotions, his creativity, or women in his life. A negative animus might manifest as a critical, judgmental male figure, a brutal aggressor, or a group of disapproving men, indicating a woman's struggle with her own assertiveness, her critical inner voice, or her relationship with masculine energy. These nightmare figures point to an imbalance in how these inner contrasexual energies are being lived out, or not lived out, often leading to projection and relationship difficulties in the waking world. We might also encounter the terrible mother or the devouring father archetype. The terrible mother isn't necessarily about your actual mother, though personal experiences can color the archetype. It represents the smothering, consuming, or life-denying aspect of the feminine, the force that resists growth, independence, and differentiation. In nightmares, this could be a witch, a giant spider, or any figure that threatens to engulf or paralyze you. It often speaks to issues of dependency, creative blocks, or a fear of truly living your own life. The devouring father, similarly, is the tyrannical, rigid, and overly critical aspect of the masculine that can crush individuality, enforce conformity, and instill a sense of inadequacy or rebellion. He might appear as a cruel king, a dogmatic authority figure, or a destructive force. And let's not forget the trickster. This archetype, often appearing as a mischievous or even malevolent figure, a shapeshifter, a jester, a coyote, delights in disruption, chaos, and upending. He shatters illusions, mocks our pretensions, and throws a wrench in our carefully laid plans. While terrifying or frustrating in a nightmare, the trickster often serves to break down rigid structures, expose hypocrisy, and open up new, unforeseen possibilities. He's the agent of radical change, often showing up when we're stuck in a rut or too complacent. Identifying these archetypes in your nightmares is a crucial step. It depersonalizes the terror slightly, allowing you to see that you're dealing with universal human energies, not just your own private madness. It shifts the question from "why is this horrible thing happening to me?" to "what universal human dilemma or developmental task is my psyche grappling with through this archetypal imagery?" This understanding doesn't banish the fear, but it provides a framework, a map to begin navigating these dark territories and to start the courageous work of decoding their vital messages for your growth. Let's delve deeper into the most prominent of these archetypal figures, the one that arguably holds the most potent key to your transformation, the shadow. When Jung spoke of making the darkness conscious, he was primarily referring to the work of integrating the shadow. This isn't some esoteric exercise, it's a fundamental, often brutal necessity for anyone serious about self-improvement, mental toughness, and living an authentic life. Your shadow, as we've said, is the sum total of everything you've disowned about yourself. It's the other within, the person you'd rather not be or believe you are not. And because you've pushed these aspects into the darkness of your unconscious, they haven't disappeared. Instead, they've gained a kind of autonomous energy, and nightmares are one of their favorite stages to burst forth and demand recognition. Why is the shadow so often terrifying in dreams? Because it carries the charge of all your judgments, your fears, and your societal conditioning about what is good and bad. If you were taught that anger is unacceptable, your repressed anger becomes part of your shadow and might appear as a raging beast in your dreams. If you were shamed for your ambition, your disowned drive might manifest as a ruthless, scheming villain. The brutal honesty of the shadow in your nightmares is that it mirrors back to you the very qualities you most vehemently deny or condemn in others. Indeed, projection is the shadow's favorite daytime activity, What you can't accept in yourself, you will invariably see and criticize in those around you. Your nightmares, however, force an internal confrontation. There's no one else to blame when the monster is clearly a product of your own psyche. But here's the crucial, empowering twist. The shadow is not inherently evil. It contains not only your negative traits but also a vast reservoir of unlived potential, creativity, vitality, and strengths that you've suppressed because they didn't fit your conscious self-image or the expectations of others. Perhaps your shadow holds your courage, your passion, your unconventional wisdom, or your capacity for deep empathy, all deemed too much or inappropriate at some point in your life. The monster chasing you in the dream might, upon closer, more courageous examination, be carrying the very sword you need to fight your real-life battles. The brutal truth, then, is that your refusal to acknowledge and integrate your shadow is what keeps you weak, fragmented, and stuck. You are operating with only half your power, half your toolkit. The process of shadow integration is the alchemical journey of turning lead into gold. It means consciously withdrawing your projections from others, taking responsibility for these disowned parts of yourself, and finding constructive ways to express their energy. When you begin to own your anger, for example, you can transform it from destructive rage into assertive action. When you reclaim your repressed vulnerability, you open yourself to deeper connection and authenticity. This is not about acting out your darkest impulses. It's about acknowledging them, understanding their roots, and channeling their energy wisely. The positive outcome of embracing your shadow is profound: increased self-awareness, greater compassion for yourself and others because you recognize the shadow in everyone, a feeling of wholeness, and a significant reduction in the internal conflict that drains your energy. You become less judgmental, more authentic, and ironically, much stronger and more resilient because you are no longer fighting a hidden civil war within yourself. The consequences of continued shadow denial are severe. Unacknowledged, the shadow festers. It leads to hypocrisy, self-sabotage, inexplicable moods, addictions, and a life lived inauthentically, always trying to maintain a facade that is constantly threatened by what lurks beneath. Your nightmares will likely become more insistent, more terrifying, because the psyche is desperate for you to wake up to this inner reality. The invitation of the nightmare featuring your shadow is a difficult one. To stop running, to turn and face the darkness within, and to ask, "What part of me are you? What do you need? What gift do you bring?" This courageous engagement is the cornerstone of Jungian psychology and the gateway to a truly unstoppable mindset, one built on the bedrock of self-acceptance and integrated strength. So, how do we practically go about this work of decoding and integrating? Jung offered a method, not a rigid formula, for engaging with the unconscious through dreams. It's an alchemical process requiring patience, honesty, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Let's break down the key steps you can begin to implement. First, and absolutely foundational, is the sacred record, capturing the elusive. This means diligent dream journaling. Keep a notebook and pen by your bed. The moment you wake from any dream, especially a nightmare, before you do anything else, write it down. Don't censor, don't analyze yet, just record. Capture every detail you can remember: the setting, the characters, human, animal, monstrous, the plot, what happened. The objects, the colors, the numbers, and crucially, the emotions you felt during the dream and upon waking. Note your state before sleep too. Were you stressed, anxious, preoccupied? The more detailed your record, the richer the material for later reflection. Treat this journal as a sacred text, a direct communication from your deepest self. The act of writing it down honors the dream and signals to your unconscious that you are listening. You'll often find that the more you do this, the better your dream recall becomes. This isn't just about memory, it's about forging a conscious relationship with your unconscious. The second is the method of amplification, beyond surface meanings. This is where Jung diverged significantly from Freud. Instead of free association, letting your mind wander to whatever comes up, Jung advocated for amplification. This means taking each key symbol, image, or figure in the dream and exploring its meanings in two ways. First, personal associations. What does this specific image mean to you? If you dream of a snarling dog, don't just look up dog in a dream dictionary. Ask yourself, what are my personal experiences with dogs? Was I bitten by one? Did I have a beloved canine companion? Does this dog remind me of a particular person or a quality like aggression or loyalty? Connect the symbol to your own life, memories, and feelings. This anchors the dream in your unique psychic reality. Second, objective or cultural amplification. Now broaden the inquiry. Where else have you encountered this symbol or theme? Explore its meaning in mythology, folklore, religion, art, fairy tales, and even contemporary culture. What does the dog represent across different cultures and stories, e.g., guardian, hunter, psychopomp, instinct? This connects your personal experience to the collective human experience, enriching your understanding of the archetype at play. The crucial point here is to use these broader amplifications to illuminate your specific dream, not to impose a generic meaning. Authentic Jungian dream work is always tailored to the individual dreamer. Avoid simplistic dream dictionaries that offer fixed interpretations. They bypass the deeply personal and nuanced language of your own unconscious. Third, try to identify the central conflict and compensatory function. Look at the dream as a drama. What is the main problem or tension being presented? Who are the opposing forces? What is the attempted resolution within the dream, and what is the outcome? Then ask, how might this dream be compensating for my current conscious attitude or situation? For example, if you've been overly focused on work and neglecting your relationships, you might have nightmares of loneliness or abandonment. If you've been suppressing your anger, you might dream of explosive violence. The dream is trying to restore balance by bringing the neglected pole to your attention, often in an exaggerated, dramatic way. The brutality of the nightmare often highlights the extremity of the imbalance in your waking life. Fourth, consider the dream series, seeing the bigger picture. A single dream can be illuminating, but the real gold often lies in observing patterns across a series of dreams over time. Are certain symbols, figures, or themes recurring? How do they evolve? A dream series can show the progression of an unconscious issue, your attempts to grapple with it, and the unfolding of your individuation process. It's like reading chapters in a book rather than just a single page. Fifth, and this is a more advanced technique you might explore later, is active imagination. This involves consciously re-entering the dream state while awake, engaging with the dream figures, speaking to them, and allowing them to respond. It's a direct dialogue with the unconscious. This is powerful but requires a strong ego and often guidance, so approach with respect and caution, perhaps after becoming proficient with the other steps. The key to this entire process is brutal honesty with yourself. It's about stripping away the ego's defenses and daring to see what the dream is truly reflecting about your inner state, your unlived life, your hidden potentials, and your deepest fears. This isn't about quick fixes or easy answers. It's a committed practice of self-discovery, a courageous descent into your own depths to retrieve the lost treasures of your soul. Each nightmare decoded and integrated is a step towards greater wholeness and inner authority. The ultimate aim of engaging with your nightmares through a Jungian lens is not necessarily to stop having them altogether, though their frequency and intensity may lessen as you integrate their messages. Rather, The goal is to transform your relationship with them, to move from being a passive victim of their terror to an active participant in their wisdom. This journey from terror to triumph is about forging an unstoppable life, not by avoiding darkness, but by understanding that the darkness itself contains potent catalysts for growth and the very keys to your most resilient, authentic self. When you consistently apply the practices of dream journaling, amplification, and self-reflection, you begin to build what Jung called a bridge to the unconscious. Nightmares, once sources of dread, become valuable signals, albeit uncomfortable ones. They become less about the monster under the bed and more about the unacknowledged power, the avoided truth, or the healing potential within you that is clamoring for attention. Integrating the wisdom of your nightmares builds profound self-awareness. You start to see your own patterns, your projections, your defense mechanisms, and the ways you might be sabotaging your own happiness or success. This isn't about self-criticism, it's about self-knowledge, which is the foundation of all true strength. It builds resilience because by facing the symbolic horrors in your dreams, you are, in effect, rehearsing for facing real-life challenges. You learn to sit with discomfort, to analyze complex situations, even if they are symbolic, and to find creative solutions. The courage you cultivate in confronting your inner demons translates directly into courage in your waking life. This process is central to what Jung termed individuation, the lifelong psychological journey of becoming an individual, a separate, indivisible unity or whole. It's about differentiating yourself from the collective, fulfilling your unique potential, and consciously integrating the various aspects of your psyche, including the conscious and unconscious, the light and the shadow. Nightmares often act as harsh but necessary goads on this path. They shock you out of complacency, confront you with your limitations or one-sidedness, and push you towards greater integration. The brutal truth here is that significant growth is rarely comfortable. It often involves the death of an old way of being, the shattering of illusions, and the painful confrontation with aspects of yourself you'd rather ignore. Nightmares are often the midwives of this difficult rebirth. The empowerment that comes from this work is immense. You realize that you are not at the mercy of random, terrifying brain activity. Instead, you possess the tools, the framework, and the innate capacity to engage with the deepest, wisest parts of yourself. You learn that even your most frightening inner experiences can be mined for incredible strength and insight. The monsters in your dreams cease to be purely external threats and become messengers, albeit disguised ones, inviting you to reclaim lost parts of yourself, to heal old wounds, and to step more fully into your power. This isn't about becoming fearless in the sense of never feeling fear. It's about learning to act despite the fear, to move towards the discomfort because you know that on the other side of it lies a richer, more authentic, and more potent version of yourself. Your nightmares then become less of a curse and more of a challenging, sacred invitation to become who you truly are. We stand now at the threshold, having journeyed through the unsettling landscapes of nightmare and the profound insights of Jungian thought. The path into the depths of your own psyche is not a fleeting exploration. It is an ongoing commitment, an unfolding journey. We've seen that nightmares are not meaningless torments but potent, symbolic messages from your unconscious, urging you towards balance and wholeness. Jung's approach provides us not with a simplistic dream dictionary, but with a map and a compass, the tools of dream journaling, amplification, and honest self-reflection, to navigate these often turbulent inner waters. The brutal truths they reveal about our unacknowledged selves, our shadows, and our unlived potentials are not meant to break us but to make us. The true Decoding Your Nightmares, a Jungian guide to hidden meanings, begins now with you. The power to transform these nocturnal terrors into sources of wisdom and strength lies within your willingness to engage, to listen, and to integrate. Therefore, the call to action is clear. Commit to this courageous inner work. Keep that dream journal faithfully. Dare to sit with the uncomfortable emotions and images your nightmares dredge up. Ask the hard questions. Don't shy away from the darkness, for it is in confronting and understanding the shadows that you reclaim the full spectrum of your light and power. This is not just about interpreting dreams. It's about forging an unbreakable connection with the deepest core of your being, building an authenticity that can weather any storm, and consciously participating in your own evolution. Embrace the entirety of yourself, nightmares and all, for in that embrace lies the secret to an unstoppable life, rich with meaning and guided by the profound wisdom of your whole, integrated self. The journey into the depths is challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable.